Alright guys, the NBA trade deadline has come and gone, and today I want to grade each trade. So we're only going to look at what happened on deadline day because we've already made videos on all the other big trades. But of course, we have to start off by talking about the James Harden and Ben Simmons trade. Philly received Harden and Paul Millsap, while Brooklyn got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 unprotected first-round picks. I gave Brooklyn a B here because at the end of the day, Brooklyn has now effectively turned Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, 3 first-round picks and 4 first-round swap rights for Simmons, Curry, Drummond, and 2 firsts, which just isn't great. But after everything is said and done, there's a real chance that they might actually be better after this trade. So that's why I went with a B. As for Philly, I gave them an A-. Questions about the fit of Harden and Joel Embiid are fair, but saying that, he is still a top 15 player in the NBA. And the fact that they are able to keep Maxey and Thibault out of the trade is a huge win in my opinion. Moving on, we have like the 4-team deal that involved Marvin Bagley and Dante DiVincenzo. Detroit got Bagley, the Clippers got Ojale and Rodney Hood via Milwaukee, while the Bucks received Serge Ibaka and 2 future second-round picks. Sacramento got DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, and Trey Lyles. All right, so starting with the Kings, DiVincenzo will be a restricted free agent at the end of the season, but I gave them an A here because I think he's the best player in the trade. On top of that, they were able to move on from Marvin Bagley. As for the Bucks, they got a B- because they are gambling that Ibaka will be healthy, but with Brook Lopez being hurt, it's a move they had to make. The Pistons got a C+. Not sure looking at Bagley for a few months is worth 2 second-round picks, but if any team can take a chance on them, it is the Detroit Pistons. And the Clippers received a B+. Their team is not hurting in terms of front court depth. The Clippers have, on top of that, opened up $9.7 million in trade player exception. Toronto traded Goran Dragic to the San Antonio Spurs, as well as a first-round pick protected 1 through 14. And in return got Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a 2022 second-round pick via Detroit. I gave San Antonio an A here because you have to remember Young was rumored as a possible buyout candidate just a few days ago. And San Antonio ended up landing a pretty valuable first-round pick in exchange for a player they hardly used. Toronto took home a C. Young is a pretty standard Toronto target in that he's 6'8" and defends at a high level and offers a meaningful dose of playmaking. And with their lack of depth and the fact that their starters play so many minutes, I think he will be a good fit here. But with the Raptors being such a stellar team in terms of drafting, giving up a first-round pick carries a greater weight than a typical front office. The Boston Celtics traded for Derek White, and in return, San Antonio received Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a 2022 first-round pick protected 1 through 4. In my eyes, this felt like a pretty fair trade. Boston got an A because they did land Derek White, a solid 2-way player under contract until 2025. Their top 7 now is as complete and versatile as any in the conference, with far more certainty going forward than they had yesterday. And as for San Antonio, they got an A as well. In addition to scooping up a lottery protected first-round pick from the Raptors earlier today, the Spurs grabbed a top 4 protected first from the Celtics. And on top of that, they got $53 million off the book that left on White's contract to open up even more cap space for the front office that will have plenty of flexibility this offseason. Torrey Craig returned to Phoenix, and in return, Indiana received Jalen Smith and a future second-round pick. The Suns got a B+ because running it back was a no-brainer with Torrey Craig. Beyond that depth, Craig gives the Suns a small ball 5 option they can turn to when they feel it's necessary, like they did in the NBA Finals. As for the Pacers, I gave him a B-. Smith was a former lottery pick who Phoenix declined a team option at the start of the season, but has shown flashes of promise this year, and I do think he's worth the shot for Indiana. So Charlotte traded for Montrezl Harrell, and in return, Washington got Ish Smith and Vernon Carey Jr. The Hornets got an A- here because they did need a center, and Hill will certainly help their offense. The undersized big man brings a ton of energy on every possession and should make a living catching lobs from LaMelo Ball and Charlotte. As for the Wizards, I gave them a C-. I just felt like they could have landed more in return for Harrell. This for me was probably the biggest surprise of the day. Kristaps Porzingis being traded to the Washington Wizards with a second-round pick, and in return, Dallas got Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. I gave the Mavs a C here, unloading Porzingis and his large contract to Washington, but they only got Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans coming back in return. I think for Dallas, this was all about moving Porzingis' deal, which pays him $33 million next year with a $36 million player option after that. Dinwiddie has had a down year coming off a torn ACL, and then Bertans is on a large contract himself. As for the Wizards, they got an A- taking a chance on Porzingis without giving up much. I think this is a really nice gamble by Washington. And finally, Daniel Tice returns back to Boston. In return, Houston got Dennis Schroeder, Ennis Freedom, and Bruno Fernando. I gave the Celtics an A, bringing back an old friend by dealing for Tice, who should provide quality minutes at backup center behind Robert Williams. As for the Rockets, I gave him a D+. It seems more ideal for Schroeder to test the buyout market and possibly play for a win-now squad. The Rockets failed to receive any young assets or even a second-round draft pick at the very least, as they literally just absorbed 3 players from the Celtics. Felt more like a band-aid solution for the Rockets because it was their mistake to sign Tice to a long-term deal in the offseason. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with down in the comments? Please make sure you drop a like if you guys do enjoy the content. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace!